Discover the incredible moment a brave black waitress stood up to a rude billionaire. Life-changing. Nia wiped the sweat from her brow as she raced through the bustling downtown diner, her heart racing like the clattering of dishes around her. The familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mixing with the chatter of regulars who treated the diner like a second home. Nia, a 32-year-old waitress and a devoted single mother, was fueled by love for her 2 children, her early mornings packed with hope and determination. Each smile she served was another brick laid in the foundation for a brighter future for her family. But today was different. The atmosphere shifted like a thunderstorm rolling in. He entered a wealthy billionaire, known for his biting remarks and cold demeanor, a wolf among gentle sheep. His tailored suit was a stark contrast to the warmth of the diner, and as he sauntered in, hushed whispers fell over the patrons. Nia felt the tension ripple through the room, her heart pounding harder. With a smirk, he picked at the menu like he was above it all. "You all really serve this slop," he scoffed, his voice slicing through the comforting hum of the diner. Nia could see the discomfort etched across the faces of her regulars. Their eyes pleaded for her to stay grounded, yet the billionaire's condescending tone pierced into her, twisting her insides with disdain. For a moment, she wanted to retreat, to hide behind the clattering plates and the aroma of coffee, but she steadied herself. As she approached his table with a fresh pot, he sneered, "What kind of place is this? I bet you work 2 jobs just to survive." Her breath caught in her throat. In those words was a truth that hit too close. Nia shook involuntarily, but amidst the storm, she could feel her customers' eyes on her, their silent solidarity weaving a bond of shared struggles. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Nia pivoted back towards the billionaire, the shame fizzling into anger. "This diner is full of fighters," she spoke, each word carved with resolve. "We work hard to support our families, just like I do for mine." The room pulsed with anticipation. As the tension escalated, whispers of agreement from nearby tables resonated, affirming her. Regulars leaned in, eager to witness this showdown, all too familiar with the sting of condescension. Even her children, sitting at the counter, felt the weight of the moment, pride swelling in their young hearts. Just then, a local journalist snapped a picture in the corner, capturing the unfolding drama. Nia stood taller in the face of adversity, but uncertainty gnawed at her. What would this look like tomorrow? Would her children face consequences for her brave stand? The diner held its breath, the future suspended in a precipice of hope and trepidation. In that charged moment, Nia realized this was a battle not just for herself, but a testament to the resilience of all who faced the harsh divides in society. Would they rise together in solidarity? Would this damning moment of truth become an emblem of change? With the gaze of the community upon her, she teetered on the brink, the story about to unfold in a way none could foresee. Nia felt the stir of the crowd tightening around her, a chorus of tension and anticipation. Each second stretched like an elastic band ready to snap. Behind her, the soft chatter of an ordinary day felt surreal, as if they were all living a collective dream where the impossible could be achieved. A single waitress standing toe-to-toe with a powerful titan of finance. "Look at you, acting like a hero," the billionaire sneered, leaning back in his chair with a mocking grin. "What do you know about real struggle?" His words dripped with disdain, but Nia refused to falter. She took a deep breath and fought against the wave of doubt threatening to break her. "More than you might ever understand," she retorted, her voice steady despite the tremors raging inside her. "Your money can't buy empathy. It can't buy respect." The diner gasped collectively, a shift in the wind that brought strength and an electric charge through the air. The eyes of the patrons burned with admiration, their collective sentiment rising like steam from a pot about to boil over. Families, blue-collar workers, and students all sat at their tables, drawn into the moment with breathless curiosity. For many, the diner represented their daily grind, the same struggles Nia faced to make ends meet. They identified with her bravery, and hope blossomed amongst them. The billionaire flicked his wrist dismissively. "Oh please, spare us the theatrics. You think you're some kind of fighter?" He leaned in, his voice low, as if he was unmasking a hidden truth. "It's cute. But that life you're clinging to? It's a dead end." Nia's heart raced. His words threatened to cut deep, to send her scurrying away into the shadows. But just then, she caught a glimpse of her kids' faces, their innocent eyes glistening with newfound belief. They were witnessing something monumental, something she never wanted them to forget. She squared her shoulders, holding her ground, drawing courage from their unwavering gaze. "Maybe you're right," Nia shot back, an edge sharpening her tone. "Maybe this is a dead end. But in the process, I'm raising 2 children who know what it feels like to stand up for themselves. They'll learn to fight their own battles, and I'll be proud to be the example." The words spilled from her like water breaking a dam, powerful and uncontained. As if on cue, a murmur surged through the diner, resonating with muted applause, and her heart soared. She could sense the crowd rallying behind her, emboldened by her defiance. Even the journalist felt the electric energy, snapping photos as if recording the birth of revolution right there in the diner. But the billionaire wasn't finished. He shot Nia a look that was both cold and calculating. "You think standing up to me will change anything? You'll be back to waiting tables tomorrow, just as you always have." Nia's pulse quickened, but now it was laced with something more, a burning determination. "So what? Maybe I will. But I'll be doing it with my head held high, and that's a change worth fighting for." A ripple of applause broke out, spurred on by a single hand clapping, soon joined by others. It was an enveloping wave of solidarity that sought to drown out his arrogance. Nia felt a warmth spread through her, igniting a sense of power she had never known. "Don't underestimate us." A voice shouted from the back, igniting others to join in. Nia's heart leaped as she took a step back from the billionaire, who visibly faltered for the first time. Every patron became a brother and sister, standing in the hallway of hope for a future that embraced compassion, strength, and solidarity. Would this moment reshape their lives? Would the diner's story extend beyond its walls into a greater narrative of change? As the crowd rallied around her, an idea sparked. What if this became more than just a moment? What if it could shift the very narrative of their community? Yet, just as that thought blossomed, she noticed the billionaire's phone buzzing like a swarm of angry bees on the table. His expression hardened, and she wondered if this was just the beginning of an unforeseen battle. What consequences awaited them all in this charged atmosphere? Would her act of courage spiral into something they could never have prepared for? The answers hung in the balance, waiting to unfold. The tension in the diner thickened, a palpable force that made the air feel electric. Nia feared this fight wasn't over, something in the billionaire's eyes warned her of looming danger. Suddenly, he picked up his phone, his brow furrowing as he read the messages flashing across the screen. "What is it?" Nia asked, her voice cutting through the crowd's murmurs. She felt the eyes of the patrons shift, filling the space with collective urgency. The billionaire shot her a look, one that made her instinctively step back. There was something almost predatory in his demeanor now, a swift shift that made her gut knot with apprehension. "They're not happy with me," he replied, his tone clipped and edged with irritation. "This little show of yours isn't going to end well." Nia's mind raced. Who was he referring to? The invisible forces behind him filled her with anxiety, but she fought to hold her ground. "I didn't ask for your approval," she began, her breath steadying her resolve. "Life isn't a fairy tale, darling," he interrupted, the sneer back on his face. "If you think you can just rally your little supporters and flip the narrative, you're sadly mistaken. They won't protect you when the consequences arrive." The diner buzzed, a cloud of voices murmuring in disbelief, some in support of Nia, others questioning what came next. A flicker of doubt crept into Nia's heart. What if he was right? What if no one could shield her and her kids from the giants above? But then she looked at their faces, still aglow with encouragement, and a seed of defiance sprouted once more within her. I don't need their protection if I have my own strength. I've faced worse than you, and I'll fight for my family no matter what. A tremor of energy rippled through the diner as they collectively cheered. Hope echoed in their applause, lifting her spirit, regardless of the billionaire's disdain. Let me show you what real consequences are, he said, standing abruptly. The crowds parted as he strode towards the exit with a confidence that felt more like a threat than an exit. You'll regret this, mark my words. Nia felt fear clawing at her chest. Still, she refused to let it overcome her. I won't be intimidated. She shouted after him, the diner now quiet as every pair of eyes stayed glued to the scene. Would he retaliate? As the door swung shut behind him, silence enveloped the diner. The air hung heavy with questions. Patrons exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of the reaction to come. Nia could feel the echoes of their breaths, their hopes, the wild passion of a community inspired. It was a fragile moment, and her heart ached with the weight of possibility. Then, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. The journalist, with camera in hand and eyes sparkling, approached her. That was incredible, he said, his voice low but urgent. This could be the story of the year, but it's more than just a story. It could be a movement. Nia felt hope rekindle, a flame flickering against her fears. And what if it backfires? What if my kids suffer for this? He hesitated, studying her. Sometimes, you need to risk it all to gain something extraordinary. We can amplify your voice. Her heart hammered in her chest, racing with uncertainty. Was she ready to lead a movement? Could she bear the weight of so many expectations? The weight of their collective gaze pressed on her shoulders, but Nia felt the fire of determination igniting again. Let us do it, she replied, steadier than she had ever felt. As the crowd erupted into cheers once more, she thought of the battles ahead, the obstacles, and what it meant to stand tall against great power. But there was something else, a realization that dawned upon her. Each step, each moment of courage could ripple outwards. Yet, in the quiet whir of uncertainty, a single thought crystallized: there was no going back now. The moment of truth was approaching. What changes awaited them on this path? What new adversaries would emerge from the shadows? With hearts united, the crowd began to chant, a transforming force building within those diner walls. And deep down, Nia knew this was just the beginning. Would she be able to hold it all together? Nia stood there, the applause still ringing in her ears, the weight of the moment surrounding her like a heavy coat. She could feel the electricity of hope buzzing in the air, yet there was another current, darker and more dangerous, threading through the crowd. The billionaire's threat lingered, like a shadow creeping closer. Are you okay? The journalist's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. She nodded, forcing a smile, but inside, doubt gnawed at her. I can't stop thinking about what he said about the consequences. The journalist's expression softened. You can't let that fear dictate your choices. You're already inspiring people. Look around. As she glanced at the faces in the diner, it struck her how varied they were. Young and old, families and singles, each one had found a flicker of courage in her words. They weren't just patrons of a diner anymore. They were allies. But as she tried to absorb this surge of strength, a shiver of anxiety shot down her spine. What if I bring danger to my kids? What if it all falls apart? Look, he said, handing her his card with a confident glint in his eye. This could be a pivotal moment for your community. Use that fear. Turn it into action. With a determined breath, she snatched the card and tucked it into her pocket, a symbol of the choice she had just made. You're right, she said, her heart beating stronger now. I can't back down. Cheers erupted again, and she turned to face her supporters. Their eyes were lit with an intense eagerness, a hunger for change. Let us come together. Let us fight against the injustice. This isn't just about me, it's about all of us. The room erupted. The applause, the chants, the solidarity, it was a living, breathing thing, each voice intertwining with each heartbeat. Nia felt alive with purpose, her fear momentarily overshadowed by this fierce energy. Yet just as hope took root, a realization crashed through like thunder. This movement, if it were to gain momentum, would attract scrutiny, attention, perhaps even hostility from others, especially from the billionaire's world. She would need allies, but also a plan. Could we organize a town hall? She asked the journalist, who nodded enthusiastically. Yes. Call the leaders, get the community involved. Let us make this official. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket. An unknown number flashed on the screen, and her heart raced. She answered cautiously, unsure of who it could be. Nia, it's me, a familiar voice said, one filled with urgency. It was her sister. I've been hearing things. People are talking about your stand at the diner. Are you sure about this? I'm sure, Nia replied with newfound resolve. But I need you to support me. This could be bigger than we imagined. I will. But be careful. They won't just let you walk away from this, her sister warned, the concern evident even over the phone. Nia's resolve wavered slightly. I know. But I have to try. For our kids, for everyone. Just then, the door swung open, and the billionaire's familiar silhouette filled the entrance. Whispers swept through the diner as everyone's gaze darted toward him, igniting the tension all over again. What now? Nia thought, her heart thumping heavily in her chest. He strode in, confidence radiating from him. His icy glare landed on Nia. I hope you're prepared for what's coming, he said, his voice low and menacing. Nia felt the air grow thicker, the collective breath of the diner held in suspense. The moment of truth was truly upon her. As she met his eyes, a fire ignited within her. She wasn't backing down. But what more could he have up his sleeve? What storms were brewing ahead? Bring it on, she whispered under her breath, ready to face whatever dark turns awaited. Nia held her breath, the atmosphere crackling around her as the billionaire approached. She felt the weight of the room shifting, all eyes locked on this confrontation. Tension hung thick like fog, but amidst that haze, she could sense an undercurrent of determination from her supporters. Their faces, a mix of fear and defiance, mirrored her own resolve. What's the plan here? The billionaire asked, his voice smooth but laced with contempt, as if he was bored by the commotion she had stirred. More theatrics. Because I assure you, that won't stop me. Maybe, but it's a start, Nia replied, keeping her voice steady. You think you can scare us into silence? We won't back down. Not anymore. Around her, murmurs of agreement rose from the crowd, a wave of support that felt like a warm embrace. She could see her sister's worried face in the corner, but there was also a sparkle of pride in her eyes. The billionaire smiled, a cold, dismissive grin that sent shivers down her spine. I'm glad you're feeling empowered. But let us not forget who holds the cards here. He gestured subtly, and Nia noticed a few well-dressed men slip into the diner behind him, their presence like shadows looming over her moment of triumph. For a heartbeat, doubt flickered in her mind, but then she thought of her kids, their laughter, the dreams she held for them. It's not about the cards, she said, her voice rising above the murmurs that filled the room. It's about people joining together. And that's a power you can't control. People. You mean this small town's desire for a fairy tale? He challenged, eyeing her skeptically. Let us be realistic. They're not going to follow a waitress. Watch us, Nia shot back, feeling the fire stir up within her. Those people out there are tired of silence. They're craving change. The billionaire's expression hardened, veins of anger pulsing beneath his calm facade. Then let us play this out. I can ruin you, Nia. With a flick of a finger. You have no idea what you're up against. Nia felt the chill wash over her, but also a flicker of clarity. He was underestimating her. Underestimating the crowd behind her. She straightened her back, refusing to back down. Then do it. Let us see how that plays out. I'm not afraid of losing my job or my reputation. I'm afraid of letting down every single person who believed in me. His gaze bore into hers, searching for cracks in her armor, but all he found was fierce determination. He stepped closer, his voice a dangerous whisper, "You may regret this." At that moment, voices from the crowd surged forward. "We stand with you, Nia." A voice cried out, then others joined in, a chorus of defiance rising against the billionaire's threats. She felt her heart swell, buoyed by this unexpected outpouring of support. "Who's with me?" Nia shouted, escalating the energy in the room. The diner's walls seemed to pulse with heartbeat, each cheer a pulse of unity. As the crowd erupted again into chants of solidarity, she knew they had crossed a threshold. They were ready for action, and so was she. But as the billionaire's gaze shifted from her to the crowd, Nia understood the depth of the battle ahead. He looked unfazed, calculating. What dangers would they face next? "Let us see how long this lasts," he muttered, before backing away. With a final glance over his shoulder, he strode out of the diner, leaving behind an electric atmosphere of purpose and possibility. "Don't let this moment slip away." The journalist's voice broke through, urgent and clear. "From here on, we need strategy. We have to harness this energy." Nia nodded, her fear morphing into resolve. "Let us meet tonight. We'll get everyone involved. We need plans, real, actionable plans." As she turned to leave the diner's stage, her heart raced with hope. What was next? How would they transform this momentum into something concrete? With her people behind her and her mission in her heart, Nia felt unstoppable. But would the billionaire retaliate? Would his warning come back to haunt her? She had ignited a spark, but what kind of fire would they have to fight off? In the days to come, Nia gathered her supporters at the community center later that evening. The dim lighting created an intimate atmosphere, but the urgency was palpable. People filled the chairs, anxiety etched on their faces, but excitement twinkled in their eyes. There was a chance one they needed to grab hold of and turn into something powerful. She stood before them, heart pounding as she smiled warmly. "Thank you all for coming. I know you're scared. I am too. But we are at a turning point." Murmurs of encouragement rippled through the crowd. Nia's sister, Tara, always her anchor, nodded from the front row, her expression a mix of pride and concern. Nia took a deep breath, the weight of their expectations pressing down on her, but she pressed forward, fueled by determination. "If we're going to stand a chance against him, we need to be organized. We can't just react to what he throws at us. We need a plan." A hand shot up from the back, a young man with tousled hair and eager eyes. "What do we want? And how do we get it?" Cheers erupted, shaking the room's stillness. Nia smiled at the energy. This was the spark she hoped for. Change. We want to change the narrative in our town. We need better wages, better jobs, better living conditions for all of us. We need to show him that walking all over us has consequences. Yeah. Someone shouted, prompting a swell of applause. Nia held her hand up as they quieted down. "I want to create committees. We need to reach out to the people who couldn't be here tonight. Let us gather stories about how the billionaire's actions have affected real lives. Those stories will be our shield, they'll add depth to our struggle. And we need to make some noise." Tara shouted. "Someone should lead a protest. Get everyone involved in this fight." Nia felt her spirit lift as the ideas flowed. They surrounded her like a rising tide, each voice adding strength to her own. But among the enthusiasm, a sense of heaviness lingered. Could they truly mount a fight against someone so powerful? The billionaire was merciless. We might not have money or resources, Nia added, but we have each other. We have unity. Let that be our weapon. Let us take to the streets. An older woman near the front exclaimed, her fist raised defiantly. Show him we won't be afraid. Nia's heart raced. This was real. This wasn't just a dream anymore, it was a movement. But as she looked around the room, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into uncharted territory. Each step forward felt like stepping onto shaky ground, balancing between hope and fear. Just then, a loud knock rattled the door, startling everyone. Silence fell. Nia's stomach twisted in knots. Was it him? Was the billionaire coming to warn them again, or worse? With shaking hands, she glanced at Tara, then made her way to the door. She gripped the handle, taking a calming breath as she turned it slowly. The moment she opened the door, the expression on her face froze everyone in their tracks. It was a group of masked men standing on the threshold, eyes hidden but intentions clear. Nia's heart thudded in her chest. What did they want? What was about to happen? Stand back. A voice boomed from behind them, and she recognized it instantly. The billionaire was not far behind, his presence looming larger than life. Her fight was about to get a lot more dangerous, and she wondered did they have what it took to stand against him. Nia's breath caught in her throat as she stepped back from the door. The masked men shuffled forward like shadows, their movements precise and confident. She felt Tara's hand tighten on her arm, a silent plea for reassurance. What do they want? Tara whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Everyone, stay calm. Nia called out, her determination flaring even in the face of danger. We're all in this together. She was surprised by how steady her voice sounded, but inside, panic swirled like a storm. The masked men didn't say a word. They simply advanced, two of them pulling back their hoods to reveal stern faces, hardened by years of struggle and conflict. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and Nia could see fear mirrored in the eyes of her supporters. From behind the crew, the billionaire stepped into view, his tailored suit contrasting sharply with the chaos unfolding before them. You really think you can disrupt my plans? He said, his voice cold like steel. Do you have any idea what you're playing with? Nia's heart raced, but she stood taller. What we're playing with is our lives. And we're not backing down. His eyes narrowed, assessing her, perhaps looking for weakness. Playtime is over. He gestured to the masked men. These are not your average thugs. They fetch what I want, and I want peace. You're disturbing my peace. A ripple of defiance surged through the crowd. Nia's gaze shifted from the billionaire to her supporters, each face a mix of fear and steely resolve. No. What you really want is to keep us under your boot. We're done with living in fear. The billionaire smirked, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. You think that passion will shield you? He gestured to the men beside him, and the expression on one of their faces hardened, as if they were what he called peacekeepers. This isn't just passion. Tara shouted, stepping forward beside her sister. This is our lives. You can't silence us. Nia felt the room shift. The energy transformed from fear to raw power. It was as if they were all linked, hearts beating as one. Then the billionaire's smile widened, almost mockingly. And what will you do? Gather your stories? Let a protest? That one changed the fact I own this land. This is a game, my dear. A game where I always win. The masked men shifted slightly, and Nia's pulse quickened. She had to act. You may have money, but we have something you can never buy, she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. We have unity. We have each other. We have stories that matter. She stepped closer, her chest rising and falling with purpose. Every life you've trampled on matters. And together, we will rise. The billionaire frowned, and Nia couldn't tell if it was anger or surprise. Enough with your theatrics. This is a warning, he growled, before motioning to the masked men to retreat. Choose your next moves wisely. As they started to withdraw, the tension in the room dissipated, but Nia knew this was far from over. Every word hung in the air, thick with implications. The fight had just begun, but the stakes were higher than ever. Are we really ready for this? Nia wondered, glancing at Tara, who looked equally fired up and wary. Each twisted feeling in her gut screamed for caution, yet every heartbeat called for courage. Before she could voice her fears, a loud crash interrupted the silence from outside, drowning her thoughts in confusion. The crowd stirred, eyes wide with panic. What had just happened? Nia's breath quickened as the shadow of uncertainty loomed overhead once more. Would they stand tall, or would fear keep them shackled? The noise outside grew louder, a cacophony of shouts and breaking glass. Nia's heart pounded like a drum in her chest as she tried to piece together what was happening. What could cause such chaos? She turned to Tara, who looked like a deer caught in headlights, eyes flicking nervously between the door and their supporters. Stay here, Nia urged, her voice fierce but tender. I'll find out. With a deep breath, she pushed through the crowd, feeling the weight of all those eyes on her. Each step felt heavy, but she knew she couldn't show fear. Not now. She reached the door, her hand brushing against the cool metal as she grasped the handle, ready to pull it open. When she swung the door back, the scene before her took her breath away. Outside, a group of young people stood across the way, boldly facing off with the authority figures that the billionaire always hid behind. It was a sea of faces determined, hopeful, and fierce. They carried signs, some yelling slogans she had only heard whispered in conversations and late-night meetings. Stand up, fight back, one voice rang out, clear and defiant. Her heart soared. These were not just random faces, they were allies who had come together, sharing the same fight against oppression. In this moment, everything felt possible. What is going on? She called out, stepping into the fray. One of the young women, her hair wild and free, turned to Nia. We heard what happened inside. We're not going to let him scare us away. We want to show him our power. Nia felt a fire ignite deep within her. This is our moment, then. We stand together. She spoke louder, feeling the rhythm of the crowd pulsing beneath her words. We will not be silenced, not today. As she joined the others, she felt a strong sense of unity wash over her. The crowd outside vibrated with energy, a collective heartbeat that synchronized with her own. But still, darkness lurked just beyond their fearless front. The masked men were just inside, waiting and watching. A loud voice boomed from the crowd, we can't let the billionaire take our hope. We deserve more. But suddenly, the masked figures materialized at the door, their presence like a storm cloud blotting out the sun. Nia's stomach twisted. What are they doing? Why are they here already? The tension snapped. The crowd stepped back, eyes wide with fear as the men advanced slowly, like wolves circling prey. Nia knew they needed to turn the tide. Hold fast. She shouted, raising her hands as if to shield them. Remember why we're here. We have each other. We are more than mere fears. The crowd hesitated, but her words sparked a flicker of resolve. One by one, the young faces steeled themselves, fists clenching, shoulders square ready to confront whatever threat lay ahead. But then, eerily calm, one of the masked men raised his hand. We are only here to deliver a message, he declared, his voice penetrating the air with authority. What happens next is your choice. Nia's breath hitched. Had this been their plan all along? A choice. She took a step closer, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a heavy winter coat. What message? She demanded, her voice steady despite the crackling nerves. The crowd leaned in, a united front pulsating with anticipation. The masked man's eyes gleamed. Will you control your destiny, or will you let him define it for you? Silence fell, thick and heavy, as Nia searched the faces around her. Here they were, a band of warriors on the edge of an unknown future. Her heart raced, knowing they were on the brink of something monumental. This choice could reshape their lives forever. As the masked figure stepped back, the real battle loomed ahead. Could they seize their narrative? Or would they live in shadows? Nia glanced back at the thrumming crowd, her hopes flaring anew. This isn't just a fight, it's our fight. The air shimmered with electricity as they stood at the precipice of change. But just as Nia felt the momentum surge within her, an even louder crash resonated from the street beyond, interrupting her thoughts and shrouding them all in a new wave of uncertainty. What more could threaten their cause now? The moment of truth was coming fast, and with it, a decision that would demand everything. Would they find the courage to stand together, or would doubt tear them apart? Nia's breath caught as the sound of shattering glass echoed again, slicing through the heavy silence like a knife. She instinctively looked to the crowd, faces etched with a combination of determination and anxiety. She saw a reflection of her own wrestling spirit in them. This was more than just a protest now. It was a defining moment. Stay strong. She called, her voice rising above the din. We're not backing down. The masked men shared quick glances, their stance was unwavering, though she could see tiny hints of uncertainty flicker across their faces. Nia seized the moment. You heard what we want. Freedom, respect, justice. We want to let you intimidate us. We decide our fate. Suddenly, a young man pushed his way to the front. He looked barely old enough to vote, but there was fire in his eyes. We can't let fear hold us back. We want to stand for our future. The crowd stirred, absorbing his words, their spirit beginning to shift. Nia could feel the ground underfoot tremble as they shifted their weight from fear to courage. Yeah. We want to let them silence our voices. Someone shouted. Cheers erupted, confusion replaced by a newfound strength. However, the masked men remained still, like statues. Nia took a decisive step forward, heart racing. What is it going to be? She challenged them, feeling a wild surge of bravery. You can try to scare us with your threats, but we choose to fight back. We won't be pawns in anyone's game. In that moment, one of the masked figures took a step toward her, his eyes boring into hers, a challenge lurking therein. Do you think you can win this? His voice was dripping with condescension, a heavy fog of authority hanging in the air. Nia clenched her fists, refusing to step back. We already have. Just then, a piercing scream shattered the atmosphere, and Nia turned to see a group trying to push through the original crowd. Code enforcement, dressed in uniforms with badges glinting menacingly in the fading light. Her heart sank. What do they want? Chaos erupted as the authority representatives threatened to disperse the gathering. People began retreating in every direction, faces twisted in panic, and Nia felt the shift in the tide. But just as despair threatened to wrap its cold fingers around her, something inside her clicked. Stop! Nia shouted, her voice breaking through the fray with a sudden calm firmness. We deserve to be heard. The crowd hesitated, glancing at her as if drawing strength from her unwavering resolve. Together. Nia urged, locking eyes with Tara, then catching the gaze of the fierce-haired woman from earlier. They divide us to conquer. We stand as one, we will not give in. A ripple of awareness swept through the crowd, a collective healing of minds and hearts. What do we want? Nia yelled. Justice. They shouted back. Who are we? Stronger together. The answer roared, louder than any fear that had loomed moments before. The masked men remained still, but their rigid exterior seemed less intimidating now. A movement had begun, a wave of hope washing over those assembled, linking arms, creating a wall of strength next to her. But Nia could still feel the weight of the decision looming over them, heavy with what it might cost. She inhaled deeply, heart racing as she looked back and forth between the crowd and the masked men, desperate to know what they would choose. With each heartbeat, the gravity of their collective choice hung in the air. Would they forge ahead into the unknown, striking for change? Or would fear lock them back into a cycle of silence? Holding her breath, she stepped forward again, ready to take the plunge. What would be thrown their way now? It felt like everything was hanging in the balance as tension coiled around them. And with the next shattering sound from the street beyond, a realization ripped through her. A choice loomed larger than they ever anticipated. Would they stand and fight, or flee and leave their dreams behind? The choice was now, and it was hers to make. The air was charged with anticipation as Nia faced the masked men, the crowd pressing behind her, unified in their determination. She could feel their hearts beating as one, pulsing with an energy that filled the space like warmth from a bonfire on a chilly night. Yet, the threat looming before them was real and daunting. "Do it," came a voice from the back, steady and bold. "We're with you." And then another, "Let us show them we won't cower." Nia turned, taking in the sea of faces. Each one held a flicker of resolve, and she knew at that moment that despair could not take root. "This is our chance," she shouted, her voice slicing through the tension, emboldened by the shouts echoing in solidarity. "Together, we can't be broken. This isn't just about me, this is for every person who feels powerless because of the greed that pushes us down." A collective roar of agreement erupted from the crowd, vibrating the very ground beneath their feet. The masked men hesitated, their stance faltering for the first time, confusion mingling with uncertainty. "Maybe they thought they would scare us," Nia continued, her heart racing, "but what they don't understand is that we're tired of being scared. We are not their pawns, we are a force." She felt powerful, like a conductor leading a symphony of voices. Another crash echoed from the street, as someone banged a drum, fueling the energy. Nia felt hope swell inside her. If they think they can intimidate us into silence, they've underestimated the strength of people who come together in truth. At that, she caught the eye of the young man who had first spoken out. "Let us stand our ground," he yelled, raising his fists in the air like a true warrior. The crowd surged forward, inching closer to the masked men. "You have the choice," Nia called out suddenly, her voice strong and unwavering. "Decide if you stand with the people. You can't silence our dreams." As if on cue, one of the masked figures flinched under her piercing gaze. "You don't understand the consequences," he said, though there was no longer venom in his voice. It wavered, and Nia could see the cracks beginning to form. "Maybe that's it," Nia replied, her tone dropping to a hopeful intensity. "You're wrapped up in a system that thrives on fear. But look around. We're ready to forge our own path, a path where everyone has a seat at the table." Something in the air shifted, a transformation beginning to take hold. One by one, the masked men drew closer to each other, the tension in their shoulders relaxing just a fraction. Nia's heart soared. "What do you want?" shouted one of the men, dropping the pretense that had guarded him. "What do you think you can achieve?" Nia took a step forward, the crowd breathing with her in anticipation. "We want fairness. We want to be part of the community. We want an opportunity. We fight for dignity." She saw her sister nodding frantically, mirroring the fire in her own heart. A voice chimed from the back, "Justice doesn't come from those who thrive on worry, it comes from those who work for it together." The masked figures glanced at each other. The last threads of their intimidation dissolved in the face of the community's spirit. There was still uncertainty, but among them, Nia felt the fragile beginnings of understanding as they absorbed her message. "What if we join you?" one of the figures asked suddenly, the mask slipping ever so slightly. A hush swept over the crowd, disbelief mingling with cautious excitement. "You would stand with us?" Nia's voice trembled with hope. Look around, he replied, his voice steady. There's more strength in unity than in isolation. Your power is contagious. If this is what you want, then maybe we can help you get there. Cheers erupted, washing over Nia like a wave. Then together, we stand. No more barriers. Let us create a community where everyone has a voice. The night turned electric, a flicker of shared purpose blazing brightly in the hearts forged through struggle. Nia felt her own heart soar, as if the universe itself was cheering their triumph. Together, they stepped into the light of a new dawn. As the crowd rallied around her, Nia realized then that this was the beginning of something truly extraordinary. They held the power to reshape their future. Side by side, they took bold steps into the future, ready to face whatever came their way. Let us walk this path together. She shouted, and the roar of the crowd echoed back. This is our fight. Each heartbeat carried the promise of change, the certainty that they would no longer remain silent. The billionaire's reign of fear was cracking, and Nia felt joy swell, spreading like the warmth of a setting sun. This was a moment of resurgence, born from love and defiance. They emerged from the darkness, armed with stories that mattered, each breath imbued with hope. They knew the work ahead would not come easy, but for the first time, they dared to believe they could conquer the impossible. Together. She proclaimed, her voice a rallying cry. Let us change the world, one story at a time. In that sacred space, hope surged once again, an unbreakable bond forged in the fire of courage. Now was the moment to rise. And Nia knew they would, and they wouldn't stop until every voice echoed through the years to come. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of backing the channel in these critical moments.